I still remember the exact moment my whole world collapsed. It was a Monday morning and I was checking my bank account to prepare for the biggest purchase of my life. 6 years of saving. 6 years of working 2 jobs, skipping vacations, eating cheap meals. Over $70,000 all meant for my first home. But when I looked at my balance, my heart stopped. $1,234. That was all that remained. I thought I had been hacked. But the truth was far more painful. My own family had taken everything. Before we dive into this story, I would love to know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below, and if this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community. Now let me take you back to where it all started so you can understand why this betrayal cut so deep. My name is Ava, and I am 28 years old. To understand what happened to me, you need to know about my family first. My father, Richard, is 56 years old. He works as a manager at an insurance company and has always been obsessed with appearances and social status. Everything in his life revolves around what other people think of him. His car, his house, his clothes, even his family, we are all just props in the image he wants to project to the world. Then there is Patricia, my stepmother. She is 52 and has never worked a day since she married my father. Her hobbies include shopping for designer items, planning expensive vacations, and making sure everyone knows how sophisticated her lifestyle is. She has a way of smiling at you while simultaneously making you feel like you are worth less than the dirt on her shoes. My half-sister Harper is 24. She graduated from college last year, though I am not sure how, since she spent most of her time partying and posting photos on social media. She has never had a real job. Everything she has ever wanted has been handed to her on a silver platter. Designer bags, new cars, exotic trips, you name it. And finally, there is Brandon, my half-brother. He is 22 and still in college. Like Harper, he has never had to work for anything in his life. Our father pays for his tuition, his apartment, his car, and his spending money. Then there is me, the outsider in my own family. My mother passed away when I was 10 years old. Cancer. It happened so fast that I barely had time to understand what was happening before she was gone. Those last few months with her are still vivid in my memory. She would hold my hand and tell me stories even when she was too weak to sit up. She promised me that everything would be okay, that I would grow up strong and brave, that she would always be watching over me. 2 years after her death, my father married Patricia. I was 12, still grieving, still trying to make sense of a world without my mother. Patricia came into our home with Harper, who was 8 at the time, and suddenly everything changed. From that moment on, I became invisible in my own house. It started small. Patricia would buy Harper new dresses while I wore hand-me-downs. Harper got the newest toys for her birthday, while I received practical things like school supplies. I told myself it did not matter. I told myself that my father loved me, that he was just trying to make his new wife happy. But it only got worse as the years went on. When Harper turned 16, she got a brand new car, a shiny red convertible that she crashed within 3 months. She got another one. When I turned 16, I got a used bicycle and a suggestion that I should find a part-time job if I wanted spending money. Every summer, the family would go on vacations: Hawaii, Europe, the Caribbean. And every summer, they would find a reason for me to stay behind. Summer camp, extra tutoring, my part-time job schedule. Patricia would pat my shoulder with that fake sympathetic smile and say, "Ava prefers staying home anyway, right, sweetie?" My father never said a word. Not once did he stand up for me. Not once did he question why his eldest daughter was being excluded from family activities. He just went along with whatever Patricia wanted, as if keeping her happy was more important than his own child. But I did not let their treatment define me. Instead, I channeled all my pain into determination. I graduated high school with honors and earned a partial scholarship to college. While other students were partying and enjoying their youth, I was working 2 jobs. I waited tables at a restaurant 4 nights a week and worked as an office assistant every weekend. I barely slept, but I did not care. I had a goal. I wanted to buy my own home. After graduating with a degree in accounting, I got a job at a respected financial firm. I was good at my work and I started earning a decent salary. But I did not change my lifestyle. I rented a tiny studio apartment. I cooked all my meals at home. I did not buy new clothes unless absolutely necessary. Every extra dollar went into my savings account. 6 years. For 6 years, I sacrificed everything to build my dream. And finally, I had done it. $72,000. Enough for a down payment on a modest little house in a quiet neighborhood. I had found the perfect place, a 2-bedroom cottage with a small garden. The paperwork was almost complete. In just 2 weeks, I would sign the contract and the house would be mine. There was just one thing I had overlooked. One mistake from my past that would come back to destroy everything. When I opened my savings account at 16, I needed an adult co-owner because I was a minor. My father, Richard, put his name on the account. It was supposed to be a formality, just a legal requirement until I turned 18. I forgot to remove him after I became an adult. I trusted him. He was my father. Why would he ever touch my money? That Monday morning started like any other. I woke up early, made myself a cup of coffee, and sat down at my kitchen table with my laptop. Today was the day I was going to transfer the deposit for my house. I had been dreaming about this moment for years. I logged into my bank account already smiling as I imagined how it would feel to finally have a place of my own. A place where I belonged. A place where no one could make me feel unwanted. But when the page loaded, my smile vanished. Account balance $1,234. I blinked. I refreshed the page. I logged out and logged back in. The number did not change. My hands started shaking. My coffee turned cold as I stared at the screen, unable to process what I was seeing. $72,000. Where was it? Where had it gone? My first thought was that I had been hacked. Identity theft. Some criminal had somehow gotten access to my account and drained it. I grabbed my phone and called the bank immediately. The customer service representative was polite and professional. She asked for my information, put me on hold for a few minutes, and then came back on the line. Miss Thompson, I have reviewed your account activity. There is no indication of unauthorized access or fraudulent activity. That is impossible, I said, my voice rising. Over $70,000 is missing. Someone must have stolen it. Ma'am, the withdrawals were made by the joint account holder, Richard Thompson. There were 3 transactions over the past 2 weeks. $25,000 on October 3rd, $30,000 on October 8th, and $15,800 on October 12th. I could not breathe. The phone nearly slipped from my fingers. Are you still there, ma'am? The representative asked. Yes, I whispered. I am here. After hanging up, I sat in complete silence for what felt like hours. My father had taken my money. My own father had stolen $70,800 from me, the money I had worked 6 years to save. The money meant for my house, my future, my freedom. With trembling fingers, I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring, his voice casual and unbothered. Ava, what is it? I am at work. Dad, I need to talk to you about my savings account. There is money missing. A pause. When he spoke again, his voice was slightly strained. Oh, that. Listen, I will explain later. I am really busy right now. No, I said firmly. Not later. Now. I need to see you today. Another pause. I could hear him sigh heavily. Fine. Come by the house tonight. 7 o'clock. We will talk then. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. I could not focus on work. I could not eat. My mind kept racing with questions. Why would he do this? Was it an emergency? Maybe he needed the money for something urgent and was planning to pay it back. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. I was still making excuses for him. After everything he had done, after years of neglect and favoritism, I was still hoping he would prove me wrong. At exactly 7 o'clock, I pulled up to my father's house. It was a large suburban home in a nice neighborhood, the kind of house that screamed upper-middle-class success. The kind of house I was never really welcome in. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. Patricia opened it with that familiar fake smile. Ava, darling, come in. We have been expecting you. The way she said it made my skin crawl. We have been expecting you. Like this was some kind of planned intervention. I walked into the living room and found the whole family waiting for me. Richard sat in his leather armchair. Patricia took her place on the sofa. Harper was lounging in the corner, scrolling through her phone. Brandon sat nearby, looking slightly uncomfortable. No one seemed surprised to see me. No one seemed nervous or guilty. They looked like they were waiting to watch a show. I stood in the middle of the room, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Dad, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Where is my money? $70,000. Where did it go? Patricia spoke before Richard could open his mouth. Ava, honey, sit down. Let us explain. I do not want to sit down, I said. I want answers. Richard finally looked at me. His expression was strange, a mixture of defensiveness and something that might have been embarrassment. We used it for the family cruise, he said. The one we took last month. For a moment, I thought I had misheard him. What cruise? I asked slowly. I was not invited to any cruise. Patricia laughed lightly as if I had said something amusing. Well, exactly. That is the point. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. What do you mean that is the point? I demanded. Patricia straightened up on the sofa, adopting the patient tone one might use with a difficult child. Ava, let me explain. Last month we booked a luxury cruise to the Caribbean. 2 weeks on one of the finest ships in the world. Suite accommodations, VIP services, exclusive excursions. It was absolutely magnificent. We went as a family, Harper added, finally looking up from her phone. You know, actual family bonding time. The total cost came to about $71,000, Patricia continued, and we needed to pay for it somehow. I stared at them, waiting for the punchline, waiting for someone to tell me this was a sick joke. So you took my money, I said flatly. You stole over $70,000 from me to pay for a vacation that I was not even invited to. Richard shifted in his chair. Ava, let us not use dramatic words like stole. The money was in a joint account. I had every legal right to access it. It was my money, I said, my voice rising. I earned every single dollar of that. I worked 2 jobs for 6 years. I sacrificed everything. That money was for my house. Your house can wait, Patricia said dismissively. You are young. You have plenty of time to save up again. We, on the other hand, deserved this trip. I have been under so much stress lately. Harper just graduated and needed a celebration. Brandon needed a break from his studies. And what about me? I asked. I have worked harder than any of you. I have never taken a vacation in 6 years. Why was I not included? Richard cleared his throat uncomfortably. Patricia answered for him. Ava, honey, you have to understand. This was a luxury cruise, 5-star dining, elegant evening event, sophisticated company. You would not have fit in. The words hit me like a physical blow. You would not have fit in. Harper snickered from her corner. Honestly, Ava, can you imagine yourself at a formal dinner on a cruise ship? You do not even own a proper dress. You would have been so awkward. Brandon shrugged. It is not that big of a deal. You are always so dramatic about everything. I stood there absorbing their words. 6 years of sacrifice, thousands of hours of work, countless meals of ramen noodles and frozen vegetables, all so that my family could lounge on a cruise ship and tell me I was not good enough to join them. Something inside me shifted. The part of me that had always hoped for their acceptance, always made excuses for their behavior, always believed that one day they would see my worth, that part finally broke. But instead of falling apart, I felt something else rising in its place. Clarity and cold, determined anger. How did you even know how much money I had in that account? I asked quietly. Patricia smiled proudly as if this were some clever accomplishment. Richard has been monitoring your account for years. We knew exactly when you would have enough saved up. The confession made my stomach turn. This was not a spontaneous decision. They had been watching my account, waiting for the balance to grow large enough to fund their luxury vacation. They had planned this. How long? I asked, looking directly at my father. How long have you been planning to take my money? Richard could not meet my eyes. It was not like that, Ava. We just thought since the money was sitting there not being used. Not being used, I repeated. I was 2 weeks away from buying a house. I was finally going to have something of my own. And you knew that. You knew exactly what that money was for. Patricia waved her hand dismissively. A house can wait. Family comes first. I am supposed to be family too, I said. But you did not treat me like family when you excluded me from every vacation for the past 16 years. You did not treat me like family when you gave Harper and Brandon everything while I wore hand-me-downs. You have never treated me like family. Ava, do not be so sensitive, Patricia said with an exasperated sigh. We are offering to pay you back, eventually. In a few years, maybe. A few years, I laughed bitterly. By then I will have lost the house I wanted to buy. By then prices will have gone up. By then I will have wasted even more years of my life waiting for people who do not care about me. Then Patricia said something that pushed me over the edge. Honestly, Ava, I do not know why you are being so ungrateful. Your mother left you nothing. Richard raised you all by himself after she died. The least you can do is contribute to this family. The mention of my mother made something snap inside me. My mother left me nothing, I repeated slowly. My mother had a life insurance policy. $50,000 meant for me. Dad was supposed to manage it until I turned 18. The room went silent. Richard's face turned pale. I never received that money, I continued. I asked about it when I turned 18 and you told me there was no policy. But I found the documents last year, Dad. I found the paperwork in Mom's old files that Grandma kept. There was a policy. And you were the beneficiary until I came of age. Richard opened his mouth, then closed it again. He looked like a man who had just watched his lies crumble around him. Where is that money, Dad? I asked. What did you do with my mother's $50,000? He could not answer. Patricia looked genuinely shocked, which told me she had not known about this particular theft. Harper and Brandon exchanged confused glances. In that moment, I made my decision. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app right in front of all of them. What are you doing? Richard asked nervously. This morning, I called the bank and started the process to remove you as a joint account holder, I said calmly. I am completing that process right now. Ava, wait, let us talk about this. There is nothing to talk about. I tapped through the screens confirming the changes. You no longer have any access to my accounts. Next, I opened my contacts and dialed a number. The room was dead silent as everyone watched me. Who are you calling? Patricia demanded. My lawyer, I said. I contacted her this afternoon after I found out what you did. The phone rang twice before my lawyer answered. I put it on speaker so everyone could hear. Hi, Ava. I was expecting your call. Have you made a decision? Yes, I said, looking directly at my father. I want to move forward with everything we discussed. The police report for theft, the civil lawsuit for the stolen funds, and the investigation into my mother's life insurance policy. Understood. I will file the paperwork first thing tomorrow morning. With the evidence you provided, you have a very strong case. Thank you. I will call you tomorrow with any additional details. I hung up and put my phone back in my pocket. The expressions on their faces were priceless. Richard looked like he might be sick. Patricia's mouth hung open in disbelief. Harper had finally put down her phone, her eyes wide with shock. Even Brandon looked stunned. You cannot do this, Patricia sputtered. We are your family. Family does not steal from each other, I replied. Family does not exclude each other. Family does not tell each other they are not good enough to fit in. Ava, please, Richard said, his voice suddenly desperate. Let us work this out. I will pay you back. We will figure something out. You do not need to involve lawyers and police. You have had 16 years to treat me like your daughter, I said. 16 years to include me, to support me, to show me that I mattered. Instead, you took everything from me over and over again. My childhood, my mother's money, and now my future. I walked toward the door. I want every dollar returned. The $70,800 you took for your cruise, and the $50,000 from my mother's life insurance plus interest. That is what you owe me. We do not have that kind of money, Patricia protested. The cruise was expensive. We cannot just... Then sell something, I said coldly. Sell your car, Patricia. The Mercedes you just had to have. Sell Harper's jewelry. Take out a loan. I do not care how you get it, but you will pay me back or I will see you in court. I opened the front door and paused. You know what the funny thing is? I said, looking back at them one last time. You were right. I do not fit in here. I never did. But that is not my failure. It is yours. Then I walked out and closed the door behind me. The next few weeks were chaos. The day after our confrontation, I filed an official police report documenting the theft. My lawyer sent formal letters demanding repayment to Richard, Patricia, Harper, and Brandon. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank records clearly showed the unauthorized withdrawals. Text messages between family members discussed the cruise planning. Everything pointed to a deliberate, coordinated theft. Richard called me constantly. At first, his calls were angry and defensive. He accused me of overreacting, of trying to destroy the family, of being ungrateful for everything he had done for me. When I did not respond to his anger, his tone changed. He started begging, pleading with me to drop the case, promising to make things right. Patricia sent long text messages full of excuses and fake apologies. She tried to reframe the whole situation as a misunderstanding. She claimed they always intended to pay me back, that they just needed a little time, that I was blowing everything out of proportion. Harper took a different approach. She posted on social media about how her ungrateful half-sister was trying to tear the family apart. She painted herself as the victim, claiming I was jealous of her and had always resented her for being prettier and more successful. But her plan backfired. My friends saw her posts and came to my defense. They shared the truth about how I had been treated my whole life. Suddenly, Harper's followers were not so sympathetic. She deleted the posts within days. Brandon was the only one who seemed to show genuine remorse. He sent me a private message apologizing for his part in everything. He admitted that he had known it was wrong when they planned the cruise without me, but he had not spoken up. He said he was ashamed of himself and understood if I never wanted to speak to him again. Relatives started getting involved too. Aunts and uncles called me, trying to convince me to forgive and forget. They used words like family loyalty and keeping the peace. But when I explained the full story, including the theft of my mother's life insurance, many of them changed their tune. Some even admitted they had always suspected something was wrong with how Richard treated me. My grandmother, Richard's own mother, called me one evening. She was crying. "Ava, I am so sorry," she said. "I should have done more to protect you after your mother died. I saw how Patricia treated you, and I told myself it was not my place to interfere. I was wrong." Her words meant more to me than any apology from my father ever could. The legal pressure worked. Richard's lawyer contacted my lawyer with a settlement offer. They wanted to avoid a public trial and the damage it would do to Richard's reputation at work and in the community. The terms were clear: full repayment of the $70,800 stolen for the cruise, full repayment of the $50,000 from my mother's life insurance policy, plus accumulated interest over the years. Total over $130,000. To pay me back, they had to make significant sacrifices. Patricia sold her Mercedes, the luxury car she had bragged about for years. Richard withdrew money from his retirement fund, taking a substantial penalty. Harper had to get a job for the first time in her life, working as a retail associate at a department store to contribute to the repayment. The money arrived in my account within 2 months. With the settlement funds combined with my remaining savings, I had more than enough to buy my dream house. In fact, I was able to afford something even better than I had originally planned. A charming 3-bedroom cottage with a beautiful garden and a cozy fireplace. The kind of home I had always dreamed of but never thought I would have. I moved in on a sunny Saturday morning. As I stood in my new living room surrounded by boxes waiting to be unpacked, I felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. I made some decisions about my family relationships. I cut off all contact with my father. After everything he had done, I could not imagine ever trusting him again. I blocked Patricia's number and unfriended her on all social media. The same went for Harper, who never apologized and probably never would. But I kept the door open for Brandon. His apology had seemed sincere, and over the following months he proved it was genuine. He started therapy to work through his own issues with the family. He called me regularly just to check in, never asking for anything, just wanting to rebuild our relationship. Slowly, cautiously, I began to let him back into my life. I also reconnected with my grandmother and some of my mother's relatives who had drifted away after she died. I discovered a whole network of people who had loved my mother and wanted to be part of my life. People who told me stories about her that I had never heard. People who made me feel connected to her again. And I started going to therapy myself. Years of feeling unwanted, of being told I was not good enough, of being excluded from my own family, those wounds did not heal overnight. But week by week, session by session, I began to understand that their treatment of me was never my fault. I began to let go of the shame I had carried for so long. I made new friends too. My neighbors in the new neighborhood were warm and welcoming. My coworkers, once they learned what I had been through, became a source of support and encouragement. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who actually cared about me. Today, as I sit in my living room looking out at my garden through the window, I feel grateful. Not for what my family did to me, but for what I learned from it. I learned that family is not just about blood. Real family is the people who love you unconditionally, who support you, who celebrate your successes, and comfort you in your failures. Real family would never steal from you and then tell you that you do not fit in. I learned that self-reliance is the greatest gift you can give yourself. The years I spent working hard and saving money taught me that I could survive anything, that I did not need anyone's approval or acceptance to build a good life. Most importantly, I learned that walking away from toxic relationships is not giving up. It is choosing yourself. It is deciding that your peace and your happiness are worth more than a connection that only brings you pain. My father and Patricia and Harper. They said I did not fit in. They were absolutely right. I did not fit into their world of selfishness and manipulation and cruelty. I did not fit into their idea of family where some members are valued and others are used. And honestly, I am grateful for that. If you are watching this and you feel like the outsider in your own family, if you feel like no matter what you do, you will never be good enough for them, I want you to know something. Maybe it is not you who needs to change. Maybe you are exactly who you are supposed to be. Maybe you just need to find the people and the places where you truly belong. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be valued. You deserve a place at the table, not the scraps left behind. And if the people who are supposed to love you cannot see that, then build your own table. Fill it with people who appreciate you. Create your own definition of family. That is exactly what I did. And sitting here now in my own home, surrounded by people who genuinely care about me, I can honestly say that I have never been happier. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever had to walk away from family members who treated you poorly? How did you find the strength to put yourself first? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another story. Your support means the world to me and helps us keep sharing these important experiences. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of this community. Whatever you are going through, remember that you are stronger than you think and you deserve a life filled with love and respect. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.